Lights, camera, no action yet, but.
Oh my.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Hialeah Planning and Zoning Board meeting for Wednesday, May 24th, 2023. Everyone, please rise for the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity of being here tonight. We ask that you please guide us as we go through these items tonight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Do we have anybody on Zoom? We do? Okay. Okay.
Meeting guidelines. The following guidelines apply to today's Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using a telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard. All lobbyists must register with the Planning and Zoning Board prior to item being heard. A maximum of 4 speakers in favor and 4 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the Planning and Zoning Board on any item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Item number 1, roll call. Mr. D. Perez.
Here.
Mr. Ramon.
Here.
Mr. Iglesias.
Here.
Mr. Jimenez.
Here.
Mr. Ulloa.
Here.
Mr. Casanova.
Here.
Mrs. Enriquez. Here. We have a quorum. Item number 2, approval of Planning and Zoning Board summary agenda of May 10th, 2023 as submitted.
Motion to approve.
Second that motion?
Motion by Mr. Casanova, second by Mr. Iglesias and Mr. Ulloa. Mr. Ramon.
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez.
Yes.
Mr. Casanova.
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa.
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez.
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez.
Yes.
Item has been approved. Administration of oath to all applicants and anyone who will be speaking before the board on any item.
Anyone and everyone that's going to speak in front of the board, please stand, raise your right hand. Todas las personas que van a dirigirse a nosotros, por favor, pónganse de pie para prestar juramento. I see you in there, Mr. Mestre.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth before this board?
Thank you. Let the record show the answer was on the affirmative.
A written decision and resolution will be prepared and presented for review to the city council. The city council is authorized to affirm with conditions or override the decisions by resolution. After the resolution is adopted, contact a member of the city clerk's office to obtain a copy of the final decision and resolution. Upon your receipt of the final decision and resolution, contact the building department to obtain your required building permit. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio file of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the city council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the city council at its scheduled meeting of Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. Item number 3, final decision to allow rear setback of 17 feet or 20 feet are required for the legalization of an existing addition. Property is located at 4726 East 9th Lane. Hialeah zones are 1 family district. Applicant Segundo Roberto Martinez and Yaumara Galloso.
Name and address, please. Nombre y dirección. Nombre y dirección.
Segundo Roberto Martínez, dirección 4726 East Nueva Lane, Alea Florida 3303.
Ok, ¿hablan inglés o no?
No.
Vamos a leerlo primero en inglés, eso se le traduce al español y vamos a... Así que... Paciencia.
The property in this application is located on the west side of East 9th Lane, north of East 47th Street. The property is improved with a single-family house built in 1956. It has an open code compliance case since 2018 for building without a permit. A building permit application has been submitted in 2021. However, it never got past the zoning review that was denied 3 times with the same comments. At this time, the applicant is before the city requesting an adjustment of the rear setback to 17 feet where 20 feet are required for the legalization of an addition proposed to be used as a playground with a full bathroom and an expansion area. The addition to be legalized is directly connected to the house's dining room through a 10-foot opening. In order to prevent an additional living unit, no door or sliding glass door providing direct access to this addition from the outside will be provided. Although not shown on the plans, a metal shed located on the south side of the house and another one located on the west side of the house will need to be removed since they do not comply with setbacks and distance separation requirements. And in addition, payment will also need to be removed to provide the required 30% pervious area. The requested adjustment may be approved with the condition that no direct access from the outside is provided to and from the addition to be legalized, that the 2 metal sheds are removed, and that 30% pervious area is provided, and that the legalization process gets completed within 180 days. Recommendation is approved with conditions. Lo voy a traducir ahora en español. La propiedad en esta aplicación está localizada en el lado oeste de la calle 9 Lane del Este, al norte de la 47 calle del Este. La propiedad está mejorada con una vivienda unifamiliar construida en 1956. Tiene un caso de código abierto desde el año 2018 por construcción sin permisos. Un permiso fue enviado a la ciudad en 2021, sin embargo, nunca pasó más allá de la revisión de zoning, que fue rechazada 3 veces con los mismos comentarios. En este momento, el aplicante está ante la ciudad solicitando un ajuste del retiro posterior a 17 pies, donde 20 pies son requeridos, para legalizar una adición que se va a usar como un playground con un baño completo y un área de expansión. Esta adición, para ser legalizada, está directamente conectada al comedor de la casa a través de una apertura de 10 pies. Para prevenir una vivienda adicional, no hay puertas ni puertas corredizas, dando acceso directo desde esta adición hacia el exterior. Aunque no se muestran los planos, un shed de metal localizado en el lado sur de la casa y otro localizado en el lado oeste de la casa necesitan ser removidos porque no cumplen con los retiros ni con las distancias de separación que se requieren. Además de eso, se va a tener que cortar pavimento para proveer el 30% de área permeable que es requerida. El ajuste solicitado puede ser aprobado con la condición de que no haya acceso directo desde el exterior a la adición a ser legalizada, que los 2 metal sheds sean removidos y que se provea el 30% de área permeable que es requerida. El proceso de legalización also debería ser completado dentro de los 180 días.
Thank you. Do you understand the recommendations? ¿Entendió las recomendaciones y las condiciones que le están proponiendo?
Sí.
Las condiciones es que no puede tener puertas, ya sean correderas o puertas regular, que dé acceso desde afuera hasta esa habitación y que desde la cocina.
Hay una
A la
comunicación desde el comedor.
Una comunicación abierta siempre. ¿Okay? Y las casitas de estoraje afuera que removable.
Sí. tienen que ser removidas y van a tener que cortar concreto para proveer el 30% de área permeable que es requerida.
Good? Okay. Comments or questions? Una pregunta, un comentario?
No.
No? Comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? Close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve
Conditions?
with conditions, I'm sorry.
Second motion?
Motion by Mr. Amon, second by Mr. Ulloa and Mr. Iglesias. Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Di Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Amon,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Tienen que volver acá, fue aprobado en este panel, tienen que volver acá el 27 de junio a las 7 de la tarde a la reunión del consejo.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. The following, the planning and zoning board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the city council at its scheduled meeting of Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. Item number 4, petition to close, vacate, and abandon for the public use of the right-of-way located on Southeast 10th Court between Southeast 10th Avenue and Southeast 12th Street. Applicant, Hugh Alexandra San Roman.
Wait a minute.
Alexandria San Roman, Esquire, on behalf of Hialeah Market Station LLC.
Okay, because we have Hugo, we have Alejandro, now we have Alexandria. We finally. Name and address, please.
Yes, Alessandria San Román with law office is located 701 Brickell Avenue.
See how easy that is? Thank you.
The requested petition to close, vacate, and abandon for public use a portion of the right-of-way as depicted in the submitted survey, a legal description, is related to a redevelopment proposal on the property located at 1171 Southeast 10th Court within the Hialeah Market TOD. The property is in the process of being rezoned to TOD. The city surveyor analyzed the plat and concluded that the underlying fee ownership of the area in consideration shall be vested to the owner of the adjacent property, namely 1171 Southeast 10th Court. No objections corresponded was obtained from FPL, the Public Works Department engineer, orally indicated that no utilities were located in the area subject of the petition, and the Streets Department expressed they had no objections and provided comments on requirements on the relocation of all stormwater infrastructure within the subject area. Recommendation approved.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
Nope, actually, so good evening, board members. Again, Alessandria San Román with law offices 701 Brickell Avenue. I'm joined here by my colleague Hugo Arza. Unfortunately, he's not doing the presentation today, so I hope I meet standards here. I actually do have a presentation for this item and the next item since they go hand in hand. So I don't know if you want to hear those together. Up to you all.
Be delighted.
We'll make it quick.
Okay.
Perfect.
You guys here?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So again, good evening. So we are hearing items 4 and 5 together. So the applicant is requesting for Market Station Phase 2, first, an abandonment of a public street, second, a rezoning request, and third, 2 variances for the property located at 1171 Southeast 10th Court and 1055 Southeast 12th Court in the city of Hialeah. Next slide, please. The property consists of 2 parcels of land totaling 1.17 acres and located north of Southeast 12th Street, south of Southeast 11th Street, and east of Southeast 10th Avenue. Next slide, please. The site is currently improved with a 1-story building used for light industrial manufacturing purposes. Next slide, please. We can go to the next one. Perfect. So just by way of background, this site actually serves as phase 2 for what is known as the Market Station TOD project. Back in August of 2022, the city council approved phase one, which is shown on the screen in orange. In December of 2022, the request for abandonment of the public street located along Southeast 10th Court and Southeast 11th Street was subsequently approved. This project is intended to be the second phase of a proposed transit-oriented development. That's that area in yellow. Together, the orange and yellow will make the Market Station TOD. Next slide, please. Why isn't it? Perfect. So the first request is to abandon the public street located along Southeast 10th Court and Southeast 12th Street. It's intended to close that area shown at the bottom of the screen in order to help build one comprehensive TOD project. The abandonment of the road also allows for the project to include the broader sidewalk area. That's some of that hatched area on the bottom. And that's also going to encourage connectivity, which is highly encouraged in the TOD. This area was never fully built out and is consistent with the abandonment already approved to the north of that site. In this case, it's over actually to your east back in December of 2022. Next slide, please. Going to requests 2 and 3, the applicant's also seeking to rezone the property from M1 Industrial District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District. For reference, the land use category of the property was redesignated in 2016 from industrial to TOD pursuant to ordinance number 2016-02. Furthermore, as part of our request, the applicant is seeking 2 non-use variances. The first is to allow an 8.5-foot setback along Southeast 12th Street for stairways to access the building, where 20 feet are required, and allow a 1-foot setback along Southeast 10th Avenue, where 20 feet built to line is required. Next slide, please. As shown on the screen, the applicant proposes the redevelopment of the property into a first-class residential development consisting of 72 multifamily units. The proposed project will incorporate appealing architecture, urban design elements, and quality materials and finishes that will enhance the attractiveness and visual appeal of the surrounding neighborhood. As you can see from all the green shown on the slide, the project will also feature a meticulously landscaped perimeter. I also do want to point out that the applicant is improving both sides of Southeast 10th Avenue, not just our side, with some on-street parking, and that's going to provide a much needed facelift for the area. Next slide, please. To put the overall project into perspective, here is a rendering that includes both phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is tucked into the back, and phase 2 is the one that's closest on your screen. The proposed project further complements the previously approved phase 1 project, which, as you all probably remember, it consisted of ground floor retail as well as multifamily residential units within the TOD. It was always envisioned that both phases would come in together. However, due to some transactional setbacks, phase 1 came in first, and now you all are seeing phase 2. Phase 1 should shortly be going in for permitting. Next slide, please. Here are just a few points to highlight. It's particularly important to note that the project's location within a unique mixture of industrial and residential uses also allows for an excellent opportunity for employees in the immediate vicinity to live within close proximity of their jobs. The property's location near the Hialeah Tri-Rail Metro Rail transfer station will also provide future residents with convenient and efficient commutes and access to public transportation options. This project will also serve as a catalyst for the redevelopment of this strategically located area of the city. That will allow many residents to transport easily throughout Miami-Dade County without the need of using their cars. Next slide, please. And here are a few renderings of the proposed project. Again, as you can see from these renderings, the project will be constructed utilizing the highest quality materials and design elements, and will ultimately serve to beautify and enhance the existing site and the surrounding community. It's going to positively contribute to the area's infrastructure and revitalization, and it will help encourage pedestrianism, transit ridership, and bicycling. The project will also further serve to create much needed jobs, provide quality housing, preserve property values, and increase the city's ad valorem tax base. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have, and we urge you to recommend for approval per staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, your presentation was for 4 and 5.
That's correct.
Okay, so even though we haven't read the next one onto the record,
That's
you gotta
correct.
jump on it.
I'm saving you some time.
Good deal. Comments or questions from the board?
They should be four. You should vote now on 4 and then.
Right.
return.
Yeah, then you can read 5, and yeah, that's why I made that comment.
Yeah.
No comments on the board? No comments or questions from the audience? Anyone in Zoom? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve an item
Second.
4.
Okay, motion by Mr. Casanova and Mr. Jimenez. And second by Mr. Gamon. Mr. Di Perez,
For item 4, yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Amon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez.
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
item 4 has been approved.
Thank you.
Item number 5. Rezoning property from M1 Industrial District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District. Variance permit to allow 8.5 feet setback along Southeast 12th Street for stairways to access the building where 20 feet is required. And allow a 1-foot setback along Southeast 10th Avenue where 20 feet built to line is required. Properties are located at 1171 Southeast 10th Court and 1055 Southeast 12th Street. Hialeah zoned M1 Industrial District. Applicant Alexandria San Roman, Esquire, on behalf of Hialeah Market Station LLC.
Okay, to make it legal, go ahead, since it's another item, identify yourself and then.
Sure.
Read it.
Alessandria San Román with law offices located 701 Burkle Avenue.
Yeah.
The properties in this application are located in the Market Station. It includes an entire block bounded by Southeast 12th Street, Southeast 10th Avenue, Southeast 11th Street, and undeveloped Southeast 10th Court fronting the Hialeah Tri-Rail Market Station. It has an area of 1.17 acres and TOD land use. The applicant is before the city with a proposal to redevelop the site with a mixed-use building in accordance with TOD regulations. The proposal includes a garden-style 3-story building, including 72 residential units. The 68-stall surface parking on the ground floor of the building will have access on Southeast 10th Avenue and will be lined by buildings except on the front facing Southeast 10th Avenue, that is the west front of the development fronting industrial properties. To be able to redevelop the site as proposed, a portion of the right-of-way on Southeast 10th Court is in the process of being vacated, closed, and abandoned by the city. The front along Southeast 10th Court will be improved with a future Rambla-style plaza planned on the undeveloped portion of Southeast 10th Court that runs from Southeast 10th Street to Southeast 14th Street, adjacent to the Market Station parking lot. Since parking variances are not allowed in the TOD, the applicant will pay into a parking improvement fund to mitigate the 16 parking spaces that will not be provided on site. To develop the property as proposed, the applicant is requesting rezoning from M1 to TOD and minor setback variances to allow 8.5 feet setback along Southeast 12th Street for stairways to access the building where 20 feet are required, and 1 foot setback along Southeast 10th Avenue where 20 feet are required for the vertex of the northernmost building. Both setbacks requests shall be approved since the 8.5 feet setback is for the 5-foot stairways adjacent to a landscape area where the building itself is providing a 13.5 feet setback. And the 1-foot setback is for the vertex of a building that is adjacent to an expanded sidewalk to be provided along Southeast 11th Street. The rezoning to TOD shall be approved since it will make the zoning consistent with the land use. The proposed development complements the proposed development located in the adjacent block to the north, where the entitlements were already granted in 2022. Both sides, which will be developed together, will transform the streetscape facing the market station, where a 19-feet plaza will be provided along Southeast 10th Court, adjacent to the station's parking lot, and sidewalks lined by landscaping and parallel parking spaces will be provided along Southeast 10th Avenue and Southeast 12th Street. These pedestrian-friendly improvements, together with the planned commercial area, will promote transit use by activating the area and will materialize the goals of the TOD district. The recommendation is approved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stewart. You had a slide presentation for the last item,
Correct.
which encompasses this item also.
That's correct.
And just for the record, the packet that we have here is a copy of the slide presentation that you,
That's correct.
okay, because the other one we didn't, we just had a, just a map. So your slide presentation is,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
thank you. Go ahead, please.
So again, I went through the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Again, as Deborah mentioned, we can't request a parking variance in the TOD. We do have about 63 parking spaces on site. We will be paying for the remainder into the parking fund per the code. And I also do want to highlight that there are 24 on-street parking spaces in the area. So we hope that will ameliorate, any or mitigate any sort of parking concerns that may arise.
Thank you.
How many units are in the project?
72.
Comments or questions?
Between both projects,
No, just this building.
so in total, that means.
So the prior building had 114 multifamily units and we're providing 72. That one, phase one was approved separately and they also did pay into the fund.
16.
Yeah.
But they will, remember, they will pay into the parking improvement fund, and also with those parking spaces that we'll provide on the street. We later work on that area, and we will probably, the parking that is on the street will be paid parking with an app. So the residents will have a special discount, but during the day, to avoid the industrial businesses to park there, it will be like a meter parking.
So the applicant is in essence improving the parking on the street.
Yeah, they are providing that parking on the
Okay.
street.
So the parking's not gonna, because there's gonna be people taking the train there, so it might be.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
No, there is a parking lot there
For the
that
train?
is for the train and for the market, so that is
Right.
independent from that.
Okay.
Through the chair. Just so I understand correctly, 11th Street, it's just gonna be taken part of it, or it's gonna be closed off completely?
Is it 10th is the one that's being closed
The
off?
one that's east by the,
Yes,
parallel to the-
that's correct. Yes. And it already was closed up top for the phase one, so it's just going to be a continuation.
so then there won't be access to the building through there, or it's just gonna be a private parking?
There is no street there right now. There
Right.
is a strip of, you have the Home Depot, there is a big strip of grass. That strip of grass is what in front of their property, similar to the one that Home Depot has. That is where they will build that wide sidewalk,
Yes.
like a kind of plaza.
So that area will not have a street, it's just gonna be a sidewalk?
It doesn't have a street and it won't have a street because there's no need there to have. a
No,
street.
I'm just looking because from the renderings I saw before, I saw like parking on the east side.
Yeah.
So then there's, I don't know if you call it a street, like how do you get in there?
Go back to the.
Yeah.
It'll just be like a private.
Two developments.
So I think,
There you can
Yes.
see, well, that parking that you see there is the parking that belongs to the station, that perpendicular parking that.
So
you
where
see
would
there.
be Home Depot there? Like, cause
No,
what
Home
I,
Depot is south of that. You don't
so
see
I'm
Home
thinking,
Depot.
I'm looking at that rendering
Yeah.
on the bottom part, I'm thinking that's a street that's gonna be closed off, no?
Yes, that there's no street right now there.
no. So to
Yes.
make it easier, the space between the building and those parking spaces, that's what we're closing off. Right now, that's just grass area. And it was never developed as
the
a
two
street.
buildings.
That's, yes,
Oh. 'cause I
Straight
thought it
through.
was on what was on the right,
right.
that, parallel to the train tracks. I thought it was that.
Yes. So I think it might be easier if we go up one slide. So we can go back and see
Right.
on the proposed site plan. Okay, so you can see how there's a bit of a gap between the parking spaces and the building itself. So that's the area that we were proposing or just got approved to vacate, and that's all grass right now.
And then the train tracks would be on the bottom of the screen?
On the bottom, yes,
On
that's
the
correct.
bottom.
Yes,
Oh, so then it's just gonna be all parking.
that's correct.
Just curious.
Okay, any more comments or questions? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question on this item? Anyone in the electronic audience? Okay, closest to part of the public hearing, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Casanova and Mr. Jimenez. Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Item number 6, rezoning property from R1 one family district to R32 multiple family district. Variance permit to allow 6 feet setback where 25 feet are required for the encroachment of a 200 square feet pergola into the front setback. And 20 feet setback where 25 feet are required for the encroachment of a patio wall on the ground floor and balconies above into the front setback. Property is located at 1797 West First Avenue, Hialeah zoned R1 one family district. Applicant Cesar Mestre, Esquire.
Mr. Mester, how you doing tonight?
Good afternoon, just fine. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you please identify yourself?
Yes, Cesar Mestre with offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida. I'm here tonight with the architect is also appearing on Zoom, Danny Alonso. If they could let him in, that would be great.
All right, let's read it into the record and we'll
Yeah. The property in this
Acknowledgement.
application is located on the south side of West 18th Street within an irregular block where the southwest vertex converges into Palm Avenue. It's the roundabout with the fountain. The property has its land use amended to medium density residential in March of 2023 in relation to a proposal to redevelop the site with a multifamily building including 4 attached townhouses at a density of 14 units per acre and a 22.5 feet high 2 stories in compliance with parking and landscaping regulations. The proposed development with its contemporary design will incorporate additional living units without disrupting the neighborhood's low scale. At this time, the applicant is requesting rezoning from R1 to R32 in order to make the land use and zoning consistent. In addition, the applicant is requesting a variance permit to allow 0 feet setback where 25 feet are required for the encroachment of a proposed 200 square feet pergola over the paved access to the unit's main entrance, and 20 feet front setback where 25 feet are required for the encroachment of a patio wall on the ground floor and balconies above the ground floor. The requested rezoning shall be approved since it will make land use and zoning consistent. However, the density shall be capped at 14 units per acre as proposed by the applicant in the submitted development proposal. Since the proposed 20 feet setback is consistent with the adjacent home setback and the 0 feet setback for the pergola is only for a small entrance feature, the request variances may also be approved. And recommendation approval with maximum density capped at 14 units per acre.
Thank you, Mrs. Thornton. Mr. Mester?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may remember this. This was in front of you guys a couple of months ago, back in March. And the land use amendment was approved, the higher density for the area. So we're back here now with the second part of our proposal, which is to build 4 townhouses on this property. Next slide. Next slide, please. This is the property. It's an odd shaped property on 18th Street, which the front of our townhouses will face the back of the houses that are located north of 18th Street. Next slide. This is the property here in the red circle. As you can see to the right and to the bottom are properties that are actually a lot higher density than what we are proposing in the area. Next slide. This is just some of the pictures of the properties that are located kind of, I would say behind our property. These are the ones I was referring to that are much higher density. Next slide. This is one that's located across the street, commercial. Next one. This is what we're proposing. It's 4 townhouses, 2 stories, 2 bedrooms. We comply with parking. We've submitted landscaping plans. It's definitely going to be an improvement for the area. And we are requesting the rezoning to be consistent with the already approved land use. As I said, Danny Alonso, the architect, is here to answer any questions of more specifics to the actual proposed project. So he'd be happy to answer any questions, or I don't know if he actually wants to go ahead and make a small presentation as well.
Hi, Danny Alonso, OE Architecture, offices at 1235 Coral Way. Caesar, I think you covered it. It's 4 2-2s. Like you mentioned, we have
May I interrupt you for 1 second, please?
Please.
Will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to a little color to what Caesar said, we're developing 4 townhouses. They're all 1,100 square foot 2-2s. We have the required parking, and really nice landscape buffering around the whole site, just to kind of add a little bit more, let's give it some more attractiveness. But other than that, I'm open to any questions or that you may have for me.
One more. Can you please state your address?
Danny, your address.
Oh, my address, I'm sorry. 1235 Coral Way, Miami, Florida, 33145.
Thank you, sir. Any
You said
comments?
go through the rest of the slides if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
That's just want you guys to look at it. This is the different side. This is the actual avenue side. You see, we placed it as far away from the houses next door to disrupt them as least as possible. And like I said, this front faces the back of the properties that are across the street. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Comments or questions from the board?
You have a question?
Go ahead, please.
Are these townhouses rentals or are these for sale?
These are proposed for rental right now.
Kind of disappointing. I was wishing that it'd be for sale.
I understand. I wish it was up to me, John, but I don't control that.
Yeah, I get you. I just, I'm seeing a lot of rentals and rentals. I'm really hoping to see somebody bring in some home ownership to the city. So, people could take root here and stay. That's what I'm really hoping for, but okay. What do I know?
I think it's just a sign of the times. That's like I've said before, I think that the market will drive it. And there was years before where all we saw was sales and condo conversions. And now this is where the landowners are going with this. I have made them aware of how you feel about this, just so you know.
No, it's not gonna weigh on my vote or anything. I was just hoping that it would be,
Yeah, I understand.
it's for sale for, or young families to take over. Be great.
Thank you, John. Any more comments or questions?
Motion's approved.
Wait a minute.
Second that
Before
motion.
you do that, any comments or questions from the audience? Anyone in Zoom to have a comment or question? We do have a motion to approve by Mr. Jimenez.
Second that motion.
Second that motion as well, with conditions.
Okay, so motion by Mr. Jimenez, second by Mr. Iglesias and Mr. Ramon. And Mr. Casanova. Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7, rezoning property from R1 one family district to RO residential office. Variance permit to allow lot width of 65 feet and a total lot area of 6,819 square feet, where lot width of 75 feet and 7,500 square feet is the minimum required. Allow rear setback of 24 feet where 45 feet is required. Allow 3 parking spaces at the front setback facing east third place, where all parking shall be located at the rear of the building, and allow 5 parking spaces where 6 parking spaces are required. Property is located at 320 Northeast 8th Avenue, Hialeah zoned R1, one family district, applicant Juan Carlos Carballo.
There is a email here on file. Does that need to be read?
Yes. Wait, can we do it after? Or do you want to do it?
No, we can introduce the applicant, but it will need to be read, right?
Okay.
Okay,
I'll read it.
all right, so who's the applicant? Frank, would you please step up and do the honors?
Frank de la Paz, 9361 Birdwell, on behalf of Juan Carlos Caballo, who's sitting in the audience.
Thank you, sir.
The property in this application is located at the northwest intersection of East 8th Avenue and Northeast 3rd Place. The property has been recently granted a land use change from low density residential to residential office. Give me one second. The designation of property to residential office is tied to the site plan and elevation submitted by the site plan and elevation submitted by the applicant. Same as with the land use amendment application, staff is not recommended approval of the rezoning because the proposed incorporation of a commercial use on a property originally developed as commercial is a repetition of past mistakes. The requested setback and parking variances clearly demonstrate that the proposed conversion of the single-family home into an office goes against the safeguards incorporated into the residential office regulations, such as parking at the rear. In addition, the proposed plans do not incorporate any efforts to modernize the building or enhance landscaping. The proposed windows replacement, proposed stamped concrete pavement, and ramp addition do not contribute to enhancement of or modernization of the 1947 building, where the existing chain link fence will remain, the irrigation will continue to rough the walls, and only a few shrubs will be added. The conversion of the property to RO shall at least incorporate the modernization of the facades, the replacement of the chain link fence with a contemporary aluminum fence, and incorporation of enhanced landscaping, including shade trees and a varied selection of shrubs. In light of these considerations, the rezoning and variances are recommended for denial. There is a letter on file if you want to read it.
Email reads. Reference, rezoning request at 320 Northeast 8th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33010. To whom it may concern, by this official communication, I am submitting my objection to the rezoning request at 320 Northeast 8th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33010. I am a retired 93-year-old handicapped lady. I have lived at my home address 221 Northeast 7th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33010 for over 50 years. And I have seen the city of Hialeah allowing continued degradation of single-family home zone limitations by providing variances within single-family zones, thereby permitting all kinds of increased traffic without any considerations to the residents of the city of Hialeah. I am totally against this variance request. Doralis Mendez, homeowner of the city of Hialeah, 221 Northeast 7th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida, 33010.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we're back with the second phase of what was originally a land use amendment for residential office that was turned down by you, and it was override by the city council. I'm just going to make a couple of points and one clarification on the recommendation from the city planner. I believe there is a little error. She's made the comment original developed as commercial. It was original developed as residential, not
Yes.
commercial.
Yeah.
I would like
my
to clarify
mistake.
that for the record. Now. And I don't want to take your time, but we're going to residential office. This is the second phase to get there. I did explain to the department that our architect was out of town for the extended vacation that he had planned. He's back in town. He got here yesterday, so we will be submitting what the actual renderings will be and what we're going to be doing besides the basic, which is the requirement of the code. with regards to the fence, with regard to the landscape, which we're planning to modernize. With regards to the irrigation system that is there now, we're not going to utilize that. We're going to put a new irrigation system, which is going to be city water connected. So I don't foresee any rust being thrown around. This house, if you look at it, and if you look at the ordinance, is a mixture Cape Cod American craftsman style of house. It's not a ranch style. Part of the ordinance requires that if you're going to do a residential office, you have to maintain the character of the neighborhood. I would love to put a new facade, modern looking, like the ones that have been done in 49th Street, but that will be against what you're supposed to do in a residential office, which is to keep the character of the neighborhood. And if you look at the style of the house, we already put a new metal roof, and we will be changing the windows and doing the painting to keep the character of a, once again, we're going to call it an American craftsman because that's the closest, the resemblance that we have on that house built in 49. Are we going to change the chain link fence with a, not a modern picket fence, because that will be against, once again, the character of the neighborhood. But we're going to plan to.
Sorry, let me interrupt you. The ordinance says residential character, doesn't say the character of the neighborhood, just to clarify.
The residential character. And by putting a new facade, modern looking, that's not a residential character that we feel will be compatible with the neighborhood. We plan to put a picket fence 3 feet high, but not like the modern metal, but the wider one that you used to see on your Rockwell picture cards of yesterday, because that will be more in tune with what the style of the house is, which we're not going to reinvent the house. We're not going to tear it down to put something different. We're going to continue with the same style of the house there. And we will be putting new landscaping to not only meet, but go beyond what the code requires in regards to trees, shrubbery, flowering shrubs, and so forth. The rest of the variances that we're asking were the same one that we had to ask at the time of land use because of the size of the lot and the configuration of the house. Unless we demolish the house and do something else, that's the only way that a less than 75 by 100 property can be redeveloped into a residential office. Once again, as I stated before, there is not a single residential office in the city of Hialeah that has not received a variance because the way the ordinance was written is not conducive to have a residential office with the requirements of the code regarding parking on this modern age. So I believe our design is consistent with what was originally considered, and I would prefer to have a recommendation of approval, but this is the only thing that we can do now. We have land use for residential office, and we're coming for zoning for residential office. And as stated before, the site plan is tied not only to the redevelopment of the zoning point, but it was tied at the moment that we received the land use. The rest of the facts, we all know it. We've been there before. We have a car dealership. We have residential office across the street. We got humongous traffic. As to the level of this lady, I feel her pain and I understand where she lives. And to give you a character of what's going on in the neighborhood, we're building a brand new house on 420 Northeast 7th Avenue, not that far away. And there was a repossessed house next door. And it was purchased. And we now have a sober home that nobody can explain to me how they managed to get in there. We yet to apply for the local business tax from the city. And we have all these recuperating human beings that are supposed to be there. But not only are the 7 residents that are there, you know, they also have a bus that bring more during the day. And they stick them in there and they hang out there all day long. And then in the afternoon, they get put on a bus. So there are people that abuse the neighborhood, and I understand that. It's a neighborhood in transition. So I do understand why this lady that is few blocks away is upset, because I'm upset that I'm building a brand new $500,000 home with a pool next to a sober home, whatever that might be, that nobody can do anything about, except regulated to the T, which the city is not doing at this point. We haven't said that, I don't want to sidetrack
Excuse me,
myself.
Frank, I'm sorry. We have to clarify, the city is not allowing the sober home to be in effect. We weren't aware of it. We were made aware of it, and the city is currently having them come in and get a license and go through zoning. And they have gotten an attorney and reached out to me. So the
Okay,
city is
I'm
not
glad- I'm glad that they
doing
did,
as you
because
say.
I did complain about it. And the same operator has another one in 400 Southeast. I mean, it's 400 East 6th Street down on
And
Okeechobee.
we're aware of
They have
both.
another one there. So it is one popping up everywhere, because that's the new modality. And I do hope, and like I said, I want to sidetrack myself, that if it is going to be 6 residents living there, that's one thing. But having buses bringing residents to hang out all day, I understand that the residents who are being sober, they're entitled to have visitors. But are the visitors people that are being recuperated from some other place? I don't know. I tell you, it's a very sad situation. It's affecting me personally, because, I did not invest the money that we are investing in a brand new house to have an institution next door. So I can understand what the lady's complaining about. But then again, this is a different area. We are in the Lejeune, and it's a total different operation that we're proposing. I respect your decision and whatever it might be, so we can move forward to the council. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I'll recognize you in 1 second. Deborah, I'm looking at the radius map here. It doesn't state, usually it does, what zonings. I mean, I see R1. You just, they're all R1.
Yes.
Okay. So there is, in fact, a wedge in there already. Yeah. Yeah, I see one up here.
We have a residential office across the street, and we have a car dealership north of it.
Let me explain you one thing. The land use can stay there with the R1 zoning, and the house can stay there. But also the residential office is very clear that to get the residential office zoning, you need to bring a site plan and facades and show the improvements that you are doing. I don't see any of these improvements there. So, and this gets tied to the ordinance. So if they are going to acquire more value in the house because they're going to use it for commercial purpose, they need to use some money to improve the house. Mr. De La Paz, with all my respect, is not an architect. There are things that can be done, preserving the residential character and improving the house, many things. So my recommendation is to wait to have that, to see the improvements that they're going to do, and then you give them the rezoning because they have the land use. But at this time, if the architect went on vacation, okay, let's wait until he's back and he can provide what is needed. This was submitted a long time ago. They should have known. If he knows the code very well, it's there written in the code. So let's wait one more meeting, or if he wants to go with a denial to the council, let him go to the denial with the council. But my recommendation will be to table the item and to wait for the improvements and to see the improvements, and then you make the recommendation.
Well, I have a little bit of an issue, even though there is an RO across the street and just a bit to the south on the next street over, within the radius, and there's a commercial up there still within the radius. This is solidly R1. And
It's true that it's Lejeune Road. On Lejeune Road, it's not ideal to have a house. This can be compatible, but since if they're changing their land use, okay, and they want to change the zoning, let's do it right. Let's look at the improvements that they're going to provide.
okay, I see your point. And the point that I'm trying to bring forth is again, something that we've been battling here forever and ever, spot zoning. And again, I do see an RO and a C1. That's why I mentioned the radius map, and for some reason I must have not had my glasses on right or something. I couldn't see the zoning, but then boom, hit it. So I just wanted to clarify that it's solidly R1. Ms. Jimenez?
Yes, to the chair. Frank, what kind of business is it gonna be?
This is gonna be a insurance agency
Okay,
run by the property owner and his wife. He's gonna be the one there with his wife part-time because she's also a employee on the vicinity, and she will be coming in to help. It would be a very small operation of a insurance agency. It's not gonna be a franchise, national franchise or anything like that. It's a sole proprietor insurance agency.
so I guess if we add a little pergola or something, make it nicer. No.
Well, then we have limitations as to
I'm
what
just kidding, I'm just kidding.
we can put in there now, if I may. And in as much as I admit that I would never want to be an architect. Even though I enjoy my classes in Miami Springs with my mechanical drafting teacher, Mr. Webb, back in the day. The code requires that we submit a site plan stating what we're going to do there. The code doesn't require us to spend a minimum amount of money beautifying to whoever desired the property. We have to have the property presentable with a minimum landscaping, with a minimum of a concrete wall in the back, which, surrounded the property, minimum illuminations, and all of that has been provided to you. Whether the trees are going to be more flowery and less flowering, where the shrubberies are going to be different colors, it's up to us to choose from the landscaping manual the shrubberies that we're going to use. Where the irrigation system is a well or a city, that's up to us. We got to have an irrigation system in there at the time of CO. To me, it's kind of I really tend to disagree with the department to say we should recommend the now because the irrigation system is going to rust the fence. We have yet to build an irrigation well, much less put it in, and somebody already knows that the water we're going to draw is going to stain the walls. Come on. And I understand the department, and I understand Ms. Thor's recommendation. She's against it. I respect the position. She was against the land use. We already got the land use. We're submitting a minimum requirement as to the site plan. Anything above that, we can do at any time. But the code doesn't say you have to spend so much money fixing up the place and making it look nicer. We have a building permit for new impact windows that are going to be compatible with the colors that we plan to use. We already put a new roof. We're going to be putting a new fence eventually, before we open, and the new landscaping and so forth and so on. Because we want the place to look nice and welcoming to the clients that will come in. And you know how the insurance market is. Most of the sales are done online, but you still have clients that first time they will come in. That's why we provide the pavements on the entrances, because that's something that has always been suggested to make a property look nicer. But to tie the site plan to X number of dollars on improvements beyond what the code says, I don't think that we should be creating that precedent. And with as much as I understand spot zoning and all that, we did not start the spot zoning in the neighborhood. We have a residential office there, and we have a car dealership, which is a very intense C3 use to the north. And just would like the item to move forward because we meet the minimum requirement of the code to be here and to be heard, and for you all to make a decision, whether the decision will be in our favor or not. And I understand it, and we'll take your recommendation to the code. Just to delay it because you want a coloring rendering of what it's gonna look.
Let me
I don't
interrupt
see
you
it.
and read you what the code says. In the rural residential office district, the property owner must submit a plan for improvement of the property. A site plan providing all information and the rendering of the front facade with elevation shall accompany applications for the rural residential office classification. So it's here in the code. It's not my invention or something capricious.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I say that what the
Just-
code requires,
for the record.
we did submit a site plan and we submitted the renderings of the elevations.
No,
There is
I didn't see renderings. You
I submitted
the
site plan
elevation.
and elevation. And that's what is
Yeah, but
required.
no improvements. There are no improvements. You submitted the site plan of what it is with the parking spaces, some concrete asphalt that is not needed. And the same, you show the same chain link fence. So if we're going to approve the ordinance subject to a site plan and the renderings, we don't have those elements. So my recommendation is still, if you don't want to deny it, table it and give him the opportunity to come with all the elements that are required.
I have a question for you, Deborah.
Yes.
Frank mentioned something that, and please refresh my memory on this, for some reason did we approve the land use
No.
for this last time?
The council approved it.
We denied it,
Yes,
the council overrode us.
yes, you did deny it, which for the record, I should say it was the first time I ever got a deny in the planning and zoning board in the last 45 years. I usually don't come with anything that I don't think that is compatible or it would be beneficial to the city. Then again, I also don't bring in things that are shown well and beyond the minimum requirement for the application, because that's wasting money if you don't know if you're gonna get approved.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm very thrifty about it.
Does that answer the question?
Yes.
You good?
The chair, are the owners gonna be living at this?
No, this is a very small house. So it's just gonna be a two-person operation on the residential office. There's not, there's no space as per the code will allow to have a residential unit. If it were any other bigger size, then definitely the economics will be there to knock down, put a brand new building with an efficiency or one-bedroom unit. And it will be something totally different. But once again, as I stated on the land use, if you look at the plat of that neighborhood, the way those lots were platted original, 65 wide, long jaded around Lejeune, not deep, but long, will not allow anything without variances. Even the ones that are 75 by 100, you still need variances to have residential office because you cannot fit a car to the rear of the property as required by code to a 7.5 setback.
I get what you're saying, but this whole using a home as a business is kind of antiquated for me, I think. It's an old system that
I
used to
tend,
be used
Mr.
in the
John,
70s and 80s.
I agree with you. But then again-
I thought that, we were gonna redevelop the June Road into something better and bigger and better. And I feel that, I respect you for everything that you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from. But I think that Lejeune Road needs to represent us better as a city and everything. And putting another residential office is like going backwards for me. They've knocked down all these houses and they've put up all these new buildings and doing all this other stuff that is new. And we're just gonna go take a step back and put something that's, for me, like I said, you might not think so, for me, is an antiquated system that doctors used to use and maybe insurance salesmen used to use. I don't see the need for it anymore. I'd rather keep it a house and save it as a house. That'd be more exciting to me.
Okay,
for a
I
beautiful young family to live there. or maybe turn it into a duplex or something that's going to be, more conducive to the residents into the area. And I've always said these little houses that are on 49th Street, that are businesses, that car dealership, I know what the car dealership you're talking about. That looks terrible. It looks awful. And that's what I want to get away from. I want to make our city, I want to beautify it. I want to make it look better. I understand that you're going to have a nice little house there, a little insurance side, but I think that's an antiquated system. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see that as something that's beneficial. They might as well
If I
just-
may, I don't think that you're wrong.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna point on something else that you have seen all these beautiful projects coming in, as you say, they're rentals.
Yeah, I hate
Because
that.
the way that they are being approved by the code, they cannot be converted to condominiums. If not, they will not be able to have that massive number of units. That's why they're rentals. And then they put some commercial retail on it. I want you to point out to me what was the last office building built on this city in the last 10 years. You're not going to find one. Nobody's building offices. That doesn't mean that there's no need for the insurance agent to have an office. There is no office space being developed, only retails. And the retails, the economics don't match a office usage
That's a very
that
good
is
point.
forced to rent into a retail
But a lot of insurance agencies are in retail plazas. small
just
shopping
because
centers.
there's nothing else, but that doesn't mean that they're making the best of their investment when you have to pay retail price on a 15 by 50 storefront because there's nothing else. Nobody's building offices. There is need for offices. And I'm going to give you a little sample, if I may, because we got other items. When we took over the management of the famous blue building, 2300 West 84th Street,
Mhm.
we filled that building within a year. And it's packed. And the day my client decided to sell it, we sold it packed. Because, and there's no vacancies on it, because there's no office buildings in Hialeah. Nobody has developed office buildings,
Well,
but that
ever-
doesn't mean that there is no demand.
There might not be the demand that there used to be. Remember, after COVID, a lot of people are working from home. And that's why I ask, are these people that are buying this property, are they gonna be working and living there in that location? That would make a lot more sense to me. But they're buying a house to use it as a business. Makes no sense to me. I think that's going backwards for me. I don't like the idea.
If
I don't-
anybody will develop small office buildings,
That would be great.
I tend to agree with you.
But that would be great if they develop small office buildings. But remember, ever since COVID, everybody's working online, using Zoom, doing whatever. So the use of office buildings has declined substantially. If you haven't noticed that too, people aren't using.
I would know. I have a client. She's over there on West 16 and 49, a accountant. She's already paying 6,000 plus a month on rent because it's a retail facility
Well, the company
and she
that-
cannot find office space.
The company that I worked for had a huge office space in Miramar, beautiful building, everything. They let it go. Everybody's working from home now.
Yeah, but that's a different
And it's a
animal
multi-billion
altogether. It's
company.
not
You know,
that the office that deals
we're
with
getting
the
off track-
neighborhood.
yeah, We're getting off track here.
Getting off track.
And what I'm concerned is that, the residential area is, I've always wanted to conserve and make as many residential areas. All my members of the board know that how I want to save homes in Hialeah. I don't want to see them torn down. I don't want to see them turned into commercial things. I hate seeing them turned into multi-unit apartments and everything. I want to conserve the homes. If they'd be living there and beautifying it, whatever, that'd be great, but they're not even gonna be living there. They use it as a commercial space. I understand
And I-
that maybe there's a need for it, but I just
understand what you're
see it as something going backwards. And I thought we were gonna move forward with other things in the city.
I wish I can
I-
find a nice parcel where I can build office building. Believe
Oh,
me,
for
I
sure.
will. but there's
I wish you
nothing-
would too, and I probably
There's
would
nothing
approve
out
it.
there.
All right, Deborah, I have one question for you and then we'll move on. Considering the fact that he may not want to table. Okay,
Well, you have the authority.
he may say no, or I want to table or whatever. I gave him the opportunity. What is your opinion
My opinion,
as far as the facade, the improvement?
this is not the place and he's not an architect, so the architect is welcome to come and meet with me. My opinion is that you should table the item because when this goes to council, council has 10, 20 items, it's late at night, so they don't give the thought that you give to this. So I think this should be tabled so we can receive what we need to receive. If not, we will never have it. You
Well-
will have that home with the chain link fence and it will be approved. So I think that is the power that you have, so you have to
May I?
use it.
Go ahead, you're recognized.
With all your respect, Deborah, Diego, is there something that we can do with conditions? Approve, and those conditions gotta be met before final?
No, I don't agree.
Just asking.
I want to see what needs to be presented that is
Correct.
not here.
And I
So
agree.
want to have the opportunity.
And
to
I agree with you.
meet with the architect and have here and recommend approval with something that I know that will be beneficial and will be an improvement. No, with the same thing, the
Really?
same house, with the chaining.
No,
fence.
I was just asking Deborah to see if there's any way
No,
conditions can be met.
there's no way. No,
No,
there's no,
okay.
and if this gets her the next planning and zoning board meeting, he still makes it before the July recess. So 2 weeks don't make any difference. And 2 weeks give him the chance to go to the architect come to see me and come here with a product that the city deserves.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that we should table this, it's been by the city planner. Her recommendation was denial. Obviously, he's gonna go forward. So I would like to move forward on this and vote. And I would like to say that I would like to motion to deny. Just to put that noted, because I'm not here to solve this problem. I'm here to vote on the situation. And it's been put upon us already to make a decision. He's gonna move forward with or without our recommendation.
Okay,
It is what
John,
it is.
point taken. Let me close let me open the public hearing real quick. And then we do have a motion on the floor standing, but we'll hold off
Mr.
a
Chairman?
second.
As Mr. Iglesias comment in regard to that, this is gonna be my last comment. I am in this meeting offering to put a picket fence, Cape Cod style picket fence, that we're gonna enhance the landscaping, and then we're gonna put a new irrigation system. That was a proffer which the law department can tell you that you can bank on it, even though it's not on a rendering. Outside of that, also, I'm pleased, don't get me wrong. The majority of the issues that we have in Hialeah is because we don't have an aesthetic code, just like the city of Coral Gables. If I mean minimum codes, my aesthetics and my beauty is not relevant, and you cannot make it relevant, and you cannot make me proper beauty in order to get something that meets the code. And having said that, we are asking for variances. So therefore, I have to proffer things to be nice and beautiful. But I don't think that it has ever been forced that I must proffer how much I'm going to spend on beautiful and niceness in order to negotiate a rezoning. Having said that, I prefer to move this forward. We might proffer that we are going to beautify the property. We are going to change the fence. We are having to do the new irrigation system and put the new landscaping, because that's all required if we want to have value at the end of the day. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions before I close this? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question on this item? Anyone in the electronic item? In the electronic audience? Okay, closes the public, and there is a motion on the floor to deny. We need to either get a second or not.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ulloa, second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. G. Perez,
To deny? Yes.
Mr. Amon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
No.
item has been denied.
Thank you. It will go into the June 13th meeting?
June
To the
13th.
recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Item number 8. Conditional use permit to allow a 23-student kindergarten class in conjunction with existing 126 children daycare. Property is located at 6900 West 32nd Avenue, units 18 through 25th. Hialeah Zone C2, Liberal Retail Commercial District. Applicant, Joanny Yavias.
Good afternoon. My name is Octavio Santuri. I'm an architect and office is at 6262 Southwest 40th Street. And we're here requesting a conditional use permit for this property.
Thank you.
The property in this application is a shopping plaza located on the west side of West 32nd Avenue between West 70th Street and 68th Terrace, north of a canal. The shopping plaza has 22,088 square feet and 108 parking spaces. Businesses in the shopping plaza include, well, forget about that because I don't know what they include. The north end of the shopping plaza has 6,306 square feet area daycare and adjacent 885 square feet playground with a portion that extends 123 feet along the rear setback of the building and another area on the front facing West 70th Street. At this time, the applicant is before the city requesting a conditional use permit to allow a 23-student kindergarten class in conjunction with existing 126 children daycare. The facility has 15 teachers, 1 principal, and 3 additional staff members. The daycare and school require 18 parking spaces, and the remaining portion of the building requires 84 parking spaces, including 3 parking spaces required for the manual car wash located at the south end of the plaza, for a total of 102 parking spaces. The shopping plaza, give me 1 second. No, I stopped because I recall now that one of the planning and zoning members might have a conflict because has a business in this shopping. So I will ask him to recuse himself and wait in the conference room, and then you'll return when we finish there. Thank you.
Okay, let the record show that Mr. Gamon is recusing from this particular item because of the fact that he does have a business interest in that shopping center. So we will go ahead and keep reading this item into the record. Once action has been taken, then he will come back and say it again. Go ahead, please.
So at this time, the applicant is for the city requesting a conditional use permit to allow a 23-student kindergarten class in conjunction with existing 126 children daycare. The facility has 15 teachers, 1 principal, and 3 additional staff members. The daycare and school require 18 parking spaces, and the remaining portion of the building requires 84 parking spaces, including 3 parking spaces required for the manual car wash located at the south end of the plaza, for a total of 102 parking spaces. The shopping plaza has 103 parking spaces plus 5 accessible parking spaces. In accordance to the submitted plans, 32 parking spaces are assigned to the daycare. However, no signs are posted reserving the spaces for the exclusive use. Given that the request is only for a 23-student kindergarten class and the site complies with parking requirements, the CUP may be approved as requested with no further expansion of area, number of children, students, teachers, and staff count. Recommendation approval.
Thank you.
I would like to add something else to it. We have existing, it's 149 licensed daycare. We are restructuring. We're still keeping 149 kids, but only 126 would be labeled as a daycare, and the 23 kids will be in kindergarten. But still the same amount of licensed children. So we're not asking for anything else than what's existing. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments or questions from the board? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? Closes the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Jimenez, second by Mr. Iglesias and Mr. Casanova. Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez.
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
item has been approved.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Actually, you can come back in.
Item number 9. Special use permit to allow a pharmaceutical research center conducting clinical trials to test new drugs, already approved drugs, devices, and other forms of treatments to operate in conjunction with an existing medical office. Property is located on 900 East 9th Street, Hialeah zoned C1, restricted retail commercial district. Applicant Vida Research Center LLC.
Hello,
Thank
good
you.
evening, board members. My name is Alejandro Daniel. I'm the Director of Business Operations for Vida Research Center. And we're located on 900 East 9th Street.
Thank you. Let the record show that Mr. Gamona is back on board.
Thank you. The property in this application is located on the south side of East 9th Street, west of East 9th Lane. This is a standalone commercial property, including a 4,189 square foot building and a parking lot with 21 parking spaces, in compliance with commercial parking requirements. The current use of the property is a medical office. The property is on C1 as all properties in the block facing East 9th Street. The properties at the rear of the subject property are zoned R1 and are separated from the subject property by an open alley. The applicant is before the city requesting a special use permit to allow a pharmaceutical research center to conduct trials to test new drugs, already approved drugs, devices, and other forms of treatments to operate in conjunction with the existing medical office. Approximately 2,000 square feet of the building will be used for the research center, and the remainder will stay with the current medical use. Patients for the research center will be provided transportation with 2 vans owned by the center and share rides as necessary. All research subjects will visit by appointment Mondays through Fridays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with no overnight stays. The requested SUP may be approved subject to the limitations stated by the applicant on the number of employees, hours of operation, no overnight stays, and visits by appointment. These statements shall be formalized in a declaration of restrictive covenants to be proffered by the applicant. Recommendation: approval with conditions.
Thank you, Mrs. Storch. Do you understand the recommendation?
We do.
Okay, do you have any comments or questions on it?
No comments.
Okay. Comments or questions from the board?
Are there going to be any improvements to this building?
So there's improvements done, if I'm not mistaken, 10 years ago to the building, and like to the medical office. So currently there's nothing planned. If you guys have any recommendations, we're willing to hear them. Really, what we're gonna do is we're gonna share the space with the current medical office. So yeah.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions? Anyone in the audience have a comment or question? Anyone in the electronic audience? What's the public hearing? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with conditions. Second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Iglesias, second by Mr. Casanova. Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Gamon,
Yes.
item has been approved with conditions.
Thank you. Good evening.
So you should come back on June 13, but you should get in touch with the law department because you need to proffer the declaration of restrictions with the hours, number of employees, some of those things. You should get an opinion of title to also provide to the law department. So get in touch tomorrow so
Great.
you can start
Thank you very
working
much.
on.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you.
Miscellaneous items not requiring advertising. Item number 10, final plat of Northwest Hialeah.
This final plat is for a property Beacon development in the annexation area. No objections from any department. It's the final plat, so the recommendation is approval.
Just northwest Hialeah, that's. what it's called. Okay. All right, comments or questions? Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? All right, it's a pleasure to the board.
Motion to approve. Second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Ramon, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova, Mr. D. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved. Item number 11, final plat of South Florida Autism Charter School.
This is also a final plat in Hialeah Heights for the South Florida Autism Charter School. It has been a long time, but finally they are completing this process and there are no objections from any departments. The recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Would you like to?
Christopher
Chime in?
Machado, Ackerman LP, 98 Southeast 7th Street, Suite 1100, on behalf of the applicant, the South Florida Autism Charter School. I don't have any comments if the recommendation is for approval.
Thank you. Comments or questions? I do have a question.
I know your question, but it's not related to a plat, but you can answer.
She read your mind, buddy. Oh, am I walking into that one?
She read your mind.
Okay, aren't we supposed to have the fire chief involved in any?
The school is already built. The problem with this school is that a developer bought that land, then they sold this portion to the Florida Autism School. He started the plat, but he never finished the plat.
Okay.
So I got in touch with the school and I said the plat was never finished. So the owner finally took the initiative and said, do you know what? I am also tired of waiting. I will complete it myself. And he started the process and very quickly completed it. So the school is there. There's some traffic problems and other things that we are addressing, but in a different process.
Did I come through with your suspicion?
Yeah.
Ooh, oh, boy, you're dangerous. Yeah, I gotta hang out around you a little bit more. Thank you. Anyone in the audience? Anyone in the electronic audience? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Second the motion.
Motion by Mr. Ramon, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Good, sir.
Item number 12, tentative plat of Emerald Bay 2.
So this is also in Hialeah Heights on 138th Street. It's a tentative plat for Emerald Bay 2. There's comments on the existing water mains by the Department of Water and Sewers. No objection from fire, police, Parks and Recreation and Planning Unit. The Streets Division conditioner approves the plat, but requires several things that need to be completed before final plat, like a site plan, paving, drainage, and things and approval by them. So the recommendation for the plat is approval.
Thank you. Comments or questions? Anyone? No one? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve was subject to comments.
Motion by Mr. Ramon, second by Mr. Casanova. Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Ramon,
Yes.
Mr. D. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Casanova.
Yes.
Item has been approved, subject to comments. Item number 13, final plat of RIRC subdivision.
Do I have? And maybe I didn't bring it because you gave me this free today.
No. I think I have it.
Thank you. Okay, so this is subdivision of a property that is on Palm Avenue, south of West 42nd Street. And they are also here with the final plat of IRC subdivision. This is, do you know which is this one? Correa Tires on Palm Avenue, that they had a portion of the adjacent building and they subdivided the lot, so they left part of the lot residential and the other part, they added it to the commercial. So finally, this is the final plat of that.
Okay.
So the recommendation, no objections, approval from all the departments.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that will be good, yes.
Cesar Mestre, where are you? Oh, there you are.
Yes, it's our,
They won't let me start my video. There we go.
okay, that's good.
Cesar Mester with offices at 8105 Northwest 155th Street, Miami Lakes, Florida. You guys cannot imagine how happy I am to see this finally coming to fruition. This is actually something that was started, get ready for this one, when Julio Romina was the mayor.
Exactly, 2007, I remember.
And it was just a matter of trying to legalize a business that was on Palm Avenue, just south of 42nd Street. It's a mechanic shop. It's been there for years, but there was no way to actually get him to legalize the business because there was a lot of problems. And after numerous plans, numerous issues, we're finally here. T-Plat passed, and now we're here on the final plat stage. And I know that once this is done, my client is going to throw a party or do something because this has been a long time coming. So we would ask you, since no department has any objections and it's been a long road, we'd ask you for a recommendation of approval.
Thank you, sir. I'll tell you one thing, though. The neighbor to the north.
The big building.
They built there. Well, what a mess crossing the water line and the sewer line across Palm Avenue.
Oh, wow. Wow.
The Baracoa Palm.
Oh, my God, that went on forever. It has nothing to do with you, by the way.
Right. No, you scared me.
That's
You scared me. I thought it was a new issue.
No.
That's also a project that started in 2003.
What a mess, a traffic mess with it. Anyway, noted. Comments or questions? No one in the audience. Well, Mr. Mester's here. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve. Second motion.
Motion by Mr. Gamon, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. D. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Gamon,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez.
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez,
Yes,
Mr. Ulloa,
Yeah.
Mr. Casanova.
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you very much and good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Item number 14, old business. No old business. Item number 15, new business.
New business?
I think the gentleman has an item, no?
The gentleman in the audience
Do you
wants
have
to,
any comments? or
he
comments?
wants to go home and
Go
eat.
to the podium and speak and what's your name, your address?
Was it fun or boring?
All
right.
Okay. All right, that being said, then will the gentleman in the audience allow us to quit the meeting?
Yes, sir.
There you, oh.
Oh.
Goodness.